I've taken some time over the last few weeks to have a little bit of a digital detox, to unplug a little and just to think. And if I'm being honest, it's a bit scary to admit that you're going through a period of your life where you don't necessarily exactly know where it's going or what it's all sort of leading to. And for whatever reason, it sort of felt right to come back to my old university and sit on these steps and just talk about how I'm feeling. This video is me talking about that messy bit in the middle, the bit that we very rarely recognise and talk publicly about, the bit that from the external perspective most people don't see or even realise is a thing that somebody can be experiencing. I did a PhD here at Royal Holloway in history and successfully completed that just before the outbreak of the pandemic. Good timing, I know. And then following that, I was fortunate enough to stumble, and I say stumble deliberately because there was really no plan, into a part-time digital engagement role at a very small museum. And because this was peak COVID times, if there's one industry that boomed when everything was physically closed, it was the world of social media. And having, it would seem, a little bit of a knack for the creation of social media content, I soon managed to move from the small Egham Museum to Bradford Museums and Art Galleries, onto the National Archives, then to the Royal Institution, and now to a digital marketing agency in East London. By all traditional forms and metrics of success, you would say that I should be feeling pretty accomplished. I've had millions of views and impressions, millions of engagements. I've got a PhD, and within 5 years I'm on to my third full-time role and fifth role if you were to include part-time work post-PhD. I know that actually I've very little to complain about. I guess that doesn't really stop me from constantly questioning whether I'm doing the right thing or whether all of this effort is ever going to compound towards something bigger, I guess. I guess, as I said, I sort of stumbled into this job, so I'm often battling this idea of where does this all go? I rarely say it out loud, but for whatever reason today I've decided to press record and upload to YouTube. Sort of feelings of not knowing where this is all headed. And I suppose if I'm being honest, that sort of lack of self-confidence, they obviously come in waves, peaks and troughs. There are obviously times when things are going great and it just feels like it's all clicking into place, and the little voices in your head can be cast to one side. But then there are moments like this or periods like this where your head feels a bit confused and it all feels a bit muddled and you're not really sure where this is all headed. And that rarely gets spoken about. Now, I'd be lying if I was to say to you that I am not my own worst enemy, and indeed the harshest critic of myself. But I guess I just have a naive belief that beyond the vanity metrics, I just want to do something that makes me feel intellectually stimulated, do something that provides me with a sense of good, I guess, positive. I'm adding something to society, and something that I guess is going to enable me to inspire people. And that doesn't need to be on a grand scale. This doesn't need to be on, a Martin Luther King style, but just in my own small way, find something that I can call my own sort of space and own that space, and do it in a way where others might one day look to me and take action, feel inspired, learn something, I guess. Christ, that sounds quite egotistical, doesn't it? So I came back to my alma mater in the hope that it might be able to provide me with some form of clarity of thinking. It hasn't, but it has brought back a lot of good memories. And I think what it has done is it's let me begin to accept that A, it's okay not to know where your life is going and have it all mapped out, and B, that probably most people don't have a mapped out roadmap, have all their shit together, and that the external perspective we might have of others is warped and deluded and wrong, and everyone's sort of just making it up as they go along. I guess in terms of sort of like how I'm trying to help myself figure all this out is A, by probably talking about these things more openly, being a little bit more transparent. 2, or B, trying not to put too much pressure on yourself. Like, there's nothing wrong with having ambitions and goals and wanting to live a fulfilled life. But success takes all forms, doesn't it? For some people, success will purely be money. For others, it would just be living a very happy and fulfilled life. And for others, it will be a combination of that and more, I guess. But sort of embracing that is another thing that I'm trying to slowly do. Actually, you need to take a bit of ownership on these things, and that the only person that can help you get yourself out of this slump or this way of feeling is yourself. And sort of taking ownership, reflecting on what are the things that give you creative joy and fulfillment. What are your skills? What are the superpowers that nobody else can do, or the things that you do that come far more naturally to you than to most other people? Like, what are your super skills, and how can you create a life in which actually you spend much more of your time embracing and using those skills rather than being bogged down by things that you don't enjoy, that don't leave you feeling intellectually challenged, that don't provide you with any value. And I guess also talking to people about how they lived and have lived their life and how they've navigated their challenges. I guess also, I've been spending a lot of time listening and watching people like Simon Sinek. I find his videos and sort of perspective on leadership to be deeply inspiring. At the moment, I'd be lying if I said I have any firm sort of results for you, but in terms of living and doing what I preach, I guess I enjoy talking. I don't have any problem with being candid and being vulnerable and just saying how I feel. So doing more of this, something I enjoy, it feels cathartic, doesn't feel cringe. So doing more of this. I guess being a bit more selfish too, rather than always doing stuff because you need to do it. Maybe thinking a bit more strategically about why you're doing this and what you hope to achieve from doing it, and having the confidence within yourself to push back and say, yeah, I don't think this is necessarily immediately beneficial to where I want to get to in life because of X, Y, and Z. Not in an unreasonable way, but in a positive and constructive way, I guess. And then lastly, I think it's just accepting that we're all just making it up as we go along, and that actually very few have the perfect roadmap and trajectory laid out ahead of them, and that it's okay just to say that out loud. And there's nothing wrong with going through periods of mental anguish where you feel bad and life feels hard, but actually doing stuff like this, saying it out loud, talking about how you feel, talking to your friends, your family, others that you respect professionally about where you want to get to, how you want to get there, what you want to do. That's a valuable thing in itself, and hopefully, this video has had some resonance. If it hasn't, then I'm sorry, but this is my life. It's me talking about it. So yeah, thanks for watching.